Hello, welcome back. It's lighting any better. We got a lamp behind the doesn't it just gets my forehead. Oh well, I'm trying it. I'm gonna step aside here to describe the board. You saw it, the thumbnail, Goodyear Productions, number one. There's a shine over that. That's School Us the album. Do this. So a couple hold on. Got this. This is the action. I still don't know the name of the group. Ethan on my route. He's a drummer. That's a group we made with a friend who did the vocals and guitar. I guess it must have been a lead guitar. My goodness, that's what it's called. Album. So that was a trade. This or that. And I just took $10. I would have paid for this and put it in my account. So, artists were swapping, we're making trades. And then I was talking to a coworker, I won't say his name. There's a potential, a couple more sales coming this week, but we'll just report that if that happens. Let's hope it does. There's been talk about at least one sale for a while, but I'm hopeful that it does come through. That'd be nice. My Reformation video talked to Pastor Mike this week. I'll be working at Faith Bible Church doing landscaping to get my community service hours done. And he's busier than ever with the situation we're in. He's got to do a lot more technical stuff. So he can't even think about working on that video, but it was nice to see him and get that kind of confirmation for the situation for my Reformation. The worship song is postponed indefinitely, so we see a change. YouTube channels plugging away. They say hopefully this lighting's a little better. Doesn't seem to be much better. I don't think it's going to be a replacement for a selfie light. Right? It is brighter for me. I'm wearing these glasses to help with the glare. It's probably a little better. Right? It's certainly not worse. Rules of engagement. I was with Dale, EW Rocks. I hope I said that right. Is it Rock or Rocks? And we were making music and talked to Neil about, maybe that was the week before. I guess it was the week before. Anyway, it was good to check in with him. They'll be ballers. In a situation with this, and anytime, what it is if I'm delivering mail, I have X amount of time to get my route done, but I can only talk to people so long if they want to talk, and I certainly do want to talk. Because talking, things happen when you have conversations with people. Needs are discovered. We find out people's musical interests. We find out their overall goals for their life. And in doing so, we can help make connections. And that's what Bellevue Ballers is about. It's one way of doing it. There's ministry, there's other things, there's music. Just meet people where they're at and be a resource. Him and the parents possibly going to be doing something with somebody, but I hadn't heard back. I could probably call them, send an email. I was supposed to talk this week anyway, so let's see. Trump's going to thump. We finished the video. I couldn't watch it back. I've got the thumb down here. But that's gonna, there was only audio, which is good to hear it. I hadn't it's still not high quality, but it's cool, man. Listen to verse 1, it's got movement. I'm certainly better at verse 1 than verse 2. But verse 2 is good too. I think it's a pretty nice song. It's pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know if it's the sound brings the house down in the stadium environment, but it can do some good things. It's solid stuff. It's certainly better than any original song I've heard, as it would pertain to the 2020 election. So I'm working towards getting that out. Still didn't get to watch the video back, but I should be seeing Dale this week to watch it back. Probably need to change one little thing, but it was looking pretty fun. It was okay. It wasn't bad. Better than just the audio, definitely. And then finally, complete songs I made lyrics for on YouTube. I think I mentioned Lewis is a ways out, but at least he's starting the process. I think at some point I might try to get with him and just see if we can mess around and make some music. See what he's able to do. Try to find out, going back to rules of engagement. He's usually Ableton, so he's paid $300 and he can use everything. It's all copyrighted. You can do anything you want. I hope that's the case. But it'd be nice just to make demos and try to put some stuff out, especially for these songs that I'm making. All right. So working my way through this setup. It's kind of bright for me, but then the light's still not that good for you. Ooh. And I think it's true, they have that halo that goes around the screen, so you're getting, what I'm seeing, it's light up here, not down there. You know, when you're on a budget, you gotta see what your options are, but probably not going to be an option. Okay, so just want to say, I was with my daughter going to the park, and I take the nets down for tennis. That's what it's going to take. I mean, I could talk about any number of things, a mask, no mask. I could tell you a story. I was in 7-Eleven, thought I was going to go down, man. These guys talk about 1918 people are getting shot. They weren't wearing a mask, shot dead on the spot. I mean, that's pretty incendiary, what he said. I wasn't on the clock. And I think if I had to wear a mask to go into 7-Eleven, I'd probably skip going there. I heard people talking about wearing a mask going hiking. I'm not a big fan of hiking. I certainly would be a big fan of hiking with a mask on. I don't get that. So the governor, I don't even know what they're talking about. They can't even enforce certain things like our immigration laws. Let me also say, homeless people, more homeless people. There's going to be more. It's sad to say. And my next song, I already know the name of it. It's going to be very current, very relevant. And I think it's going to touch on some of this stuff. But on 45th, right by I-5, you got more tents than ever. Not a ton, but there's only so much space. If there was more space, there'd probably be more tents. But I couldn't believe my eyes when, am I not recording? The little hand washing thing, you know, the little portable ones you see at like a fair. You put your foot down on and it squirts water in your hand. That's not. There's no fair there. There's no events happening on 7th Northeast and Northeast 45th Street. The only thing happening is people in tents. How did honey pots end up there? So I guess that's the way it's going to be. You know, maybe every freeway exit can, along with every freeway exit, we can have honey pots and a little portable hand washing sink. That'd be easier for the people who are going to live at freeway exits now. I guess that's what's going on. If you send the signal that we're going to set up a place for you to, a facility for you to use the restroom and a hand washing sink, I guess that's where you live. That's your house now. Isn't it likely that more people are going to be in this situation considering what's happening right now. Like I said, that's my next song. I already know what I'm going to sing. Singing. Yeah, Dale would say, you can start singing. I wish I was singing, but it turns out I'm rapping. And so I'm going to go back to the rhymes. I will tell you, too, before I do this, I was doing a little more research. Let me describe it. Because I'm thinking, my man, Maharishi, Yo Rush Bro, everyone's favorite guy. All the people who don't listen to him want to look into his. I don't know what he did. I never looked. All I know is I listen to the show and I like it. You can either listen to the show and decide if you like it or not, or you can go online and see what kind of guy he is, then decide if you want to listen to a show or you hear about it from mainstream media. I never did that. I just listened to his show. And, how many of these musicians are on whatever drugs they're on and you still like their songs? I'm not saying he's on anything, but I can't tell you how many people talk about this, and I never once heard anyone that credible in terms of politics talk about it. It's just people are on the fringes and they get all their information from mainstream media sources and they just find one little thing. So if he can enlighten me to a lot of things, I'm supposed to throw that out because of whatever you're talking about. It's not happening. He's talking about, and this song is about a deal with the dubious, diabolical, present day China. If we go back, and I never heard this, I decided that, let me just say, Bob Dylan said, I'm not this, I think it happened on this day in 1962. He refused to go on the Ed Sullivan show because he couldn't do his song about the John Birch Society. I was like, John Birch, China, let me research it. It turns out John Birch had actually been the first American. If we talk about going to war against a proxy war against China, we never were directly at war with China. We were in Korea, we're in Vietnam, and those were wars with China, basically, and communists. The first death apparently is John Birch, and that's why they named it that. That was in 1945, 10 days after the Japanese surrendered. So, might have just been a little dust up. People have different opinions from the little quick research I did. But I would say if that was the beginning, that was the very first step. Now, the communists didn't control China until 1949. So we were their ally through, and prior to World War II, Japan and China going at it, it looked like we were supplying both sides of the war. And that's what war's big business. If you're not in the war, you could, look at Russia today. They'll supply both sides. I mean, we do it. I think everyone does it. You just, here's the oil. You need oil. You need arms. What do you need? We'll sell it. Everyone. I just think that's the way it is. Well, you can say you don't like it, but there's a lot of money, and it just depends if someone's your ally or not. And going back to that China and Japan situation, I don't know if one or the other was exactly an ally. We weren't apparently at odds with them prior to that. What they mentioned in Japan actually was very dependent on us for oil and everything. So I guess it's bad news when we were going to stop doing business with them. Anyway, so 1949 is the beginning of it, or it's official, because if you're a communist country, now I was doing quick research on the Soviet Union. What was our relationship with them? And it turns out it was bad, not as bad as it was. Well, going into like 1939, I think they said they invaded Poland. So, some people who know history know this stuff. I didn't know. So prior to whatever Germany was doing, Soviet Union was invading Poland, invading Finland, because there's chaos happening around the world. So it's kind of like they're making some moves. So we weren't friends with Soviet Union. I mean, they're invading Finland. I guess they're claiming that was their old territory or whatever. We didn't do anything at that point, but so there was never an alliance. There's a short alliance with Soviet Union from maybe 41 to, I guess, 44 was even, there's never a great relationship. In the minute World War II ended and you got Germany getting split up, I mean, it's on right away. But that wasn't the case with China. I suspect, obviously, the communists take over China, 1949, and then Soviet Union's going to be right there with them. So that was the beginning of the issue there. And it goes to this day. It has not ended for Xi Jinping or P. Gosh, I don't want to say it wrong. I'm saying it wrong, obviously. The president of China is a lifer. He's not going anywhere. So it's not a free society. Their values are not our values. People can say, oh, the stated values of the United States are not the stated values of China. So we don't have anything in common going back to 1949. We have not been allies. Quite the opposite. We had wars in Korea, Vietnam, and all of that. I mean, they talk about Cold War and actual war with the Soviet Union. We were having wars. And again, maybe, and there's people who will say, well, that's to get money, and big money, you have wars. I don't dispute that either. But it sets up, it doesn't put us in a situation where we're doing business with them. And so they're not looking out for our best interests. Our interests are not their interests. Their interests are not our interests. So it's a dubious deal. We're dealing with dubious actors, diabolical even. So let me just go through this verse. And then, because we have a situation today, is there a pandemic? Is it, I think virtually everyone's going to say there's some virus out there. Thank God. Leon's okay. Round 2, almost lost him again. Didn't know, but he's around. Thank you. So something has happened to him. I mean, sounds like something. I'm not a doctor, okay, but there's people who are very, very always going to be very skeptical of things, and then there's others who are going to say China is behind the virus, and I've heard that too. So there's lots of theories. Who can know the truth? But we can easily say China did not want the United States to help them solve this problem back in December. No dispute. Apparently, they're buying equipment to help them protect their citizens from a virus. By importing, and now they got a monopoly on it. Now they're selling it back. They're just hustling. So, that's what we're doing business. That's what we're trying to do business with. So the issue really is, why are we so dependent on them? Whose idea? Who would let this happen? Who would let us be in a situation where we're borrowing money from them, we're buying all these products from them, we're allowing our own citizens to lose work just so it's kind of like there's a business mentality and a consumer mentality. Business mentality, you're productive. Consumer mentality, I just want the cheapest bargain. So we've destroyed our own country to get a deal on cheap stuff from slave labor or really low wage labor. It's what it looks like. To deal with the dubious diabolical. That's it. So here's the first verse, and I can go any different. I've got things that are going on in my head because I just have questions. I don't get it. Anyone should say, what is up with this? And are we going to start? Trump says, China, I don't know what the plan is, but I mean, you have Kanye, for one, saying a virus is coming, churches are closing down. 2, you want to make stuff in the United States of America, he's in Wyoming. So, for one, he's in Wyoming, away from people. He doesn't have to worry about, he's not within 6 feet of, he might not be within 600, 6,000, I don't know how many feet. He wants to have manufacturing there, in this country. How cool is that? So that's good news. That's the kind of things you like to hear, because you say, well, what is being done to deal with the dubious, diabolical relationship? I deal with the dubious, diabolical. I deal with the diabolical, dubious, physical, dubious. I deal with that dubious. Diabolical, to deal with the diabolical. Dubious, are our leaders oblivious? Diabolical, or are they maniacal? Dubious, seems like this topic won't go away. In there with the enemy stupidity on display, does it necessarily have to be this way? Why all the goodwill going one way? Why ain't it that we can't just say, better do right by the US of A? Because doing right by the US of A is supposed to say we only look out for self, not others. Isolation is having they druthers. We're supposed to join the global community so we all live in one world harmony. Eliminate our nukes, disband our army. Show others the way, show others that we will lead the way, we'll lead with glee. Have you ever heard of such tomfoolery? A deal with the dubious, diabolical, a deal with the diabolical. Dubious, isn't it obvious? Diabolical, isn't it illogical? Dubious, the deal that's dubious. Diabolical, to deal with the diabolical. Dubious, are our leaders oblivious? Diabolical, maybe they're maniacal. Dubious, that's the change I want to say. Maybe they're maniacal. A song will take a while. Huh? It takes some time to go through that. That was my first run through on that, but all right, so that's verse 1. Yeah, John Birch, the research says, there's communists within the country, and there's no doubt. Alan West, he said, 80 members of Congress were communists? That's what he said, and hard to dispute. They're from big cities. They talk about these colleges. I mean, it's a breeding ground for it because you don't have to actually work. You don't have to do anything but just sit there and spout out theories. I mean, just like this deal now. I'm telling you, my next song's going to hit on it. Theory. Oh, we can't have a few people die from this thing. And then reality is economy shut down. You can't have it all, but if you had to choose, shouldn't you just keep trying to keep things as normal as possible and not just shut everything down and we can deal with the unintended consequences later is kind of the thought. Well, it's not smart. Number out 16 here. You know, 15, 16. All right, so maybe they're maniacal, dubious. Seems like the topic won't go away. So, how should I start the next verse? I mean, they talk about technological spies. They talk about tech giants, very friendly. There's globalism. There's tech giants who are allied with. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. I mean, you could talk about innumerable things. Seems like the topic on. I could even say that. Could talk about innumerable things. I could talk about innumerable things. I could talk about innumerable things. Because it's true. Innumerable? I'll look that up. I've never tried that. Can't be in. I just never seen it written out that I can remember. Innumerable. Innumerable, yeah. Too many to be counted. Innumerable. Not able to remember. talk about innumerable things. Oh, man. This topic shows God legs and wings. So, when you say sure, because I know one word I said. This topic show God, sure got legs and wings. Why not? Man, that's just not good. It's always crooked here. Sorry to myself. How big of a threat are we talking about? How big a threat? And they use that term in that Bob Dylan. I saw they use that term red paranoia. Well, that's partly a way, it's just like you use conspiracy theory, paranoia. You use these things to get people to stand down and not ask questions. It's done over and over. Look, Bob Dylan, why do you care, dude? Aren't you just singing songs? I'm singing songs too. I mean, we're talking about red paranoia back in 1962. That's 13 years after 1949. 1962 to now, that's 50, 60 years. We're still dealing with it. Is it paranoia? They're not our, I mean, they do business totally different than we do. How big a threat are we talking about? Is there a clear and present danger? That's actually interesting. Because every time you talk about this stuff, it's not clear. That's the point. It's not a clear danger. Is it present? Sure, but it's unclear. There's so many things that are unclear. That's the power of it. So because it's not a clear danger, we just keep going and going and going. So, and that's the nature of life. I mean, until it's really bad and you're going to have to fight for your survival, you're probably going to slide backwards. It's just the nature of life. Now, it's interesting right now, we don't have pastimes, we don't have distractions because, I mean, I guess you play video games, or there's no sports. There's a lot of things, theater, nothing. Things that people normally do to distract themselves, they're not able to do. Is there a clear and present danger? It's not clear, and that's the danger. Okay. I guess if we say it's been these threats, real and no stranger, not a stranger. We're talking 60 plus years, and that's the rhymes for today.